Hey guys, in this video we are going to talk about volume. So essentially when I say volume, what do I mean? It's not the noise of your workouts. It's essentially how many reps and sets are you doing, okay? How many working sets are you doing? How many exercises are you programming in a workout? Some people will measure tonnage, where they measure basically the load on the bar times the reps, and they get some super high number and they keep track of that tonnage per workout. I'm just going to stick to general kind of volume. There's a lot of ways you can look at volume, and you can kind of use it in different ways to make decisions about your programming. But I think starting from like a specific muscle standpoint and then zooming out to the overall program volume is a good way to do it. Now, this is another one of those sort of nebulous topics where it's like, what's the correct amount of volume for a beginner? I have an opinion on that, but the truth is, if they're doing one walk per week at 30 minutes, they would adapt beneficially to 2 walks at 30 minutes, 3 walks at 30 minutes. Is doing 15 walks at 30 minutes a week an appropriate jump? In my opinion, no. That would be increasing by a large percentage and probably increasing the risk for injury. Again, walking is a very low, it's not crazy difficult for most people. But again, you want to make changes in volume that sort of makes sense. So what makes sense to most trainees is like maybe a 5 to 10% increase over maybe it's a week or two. And that's generally for beginners. As you go on and you get stronger and stronger and get fitter and fitter, those jumps that you're able to make in volume each week are smaller and smaller. Okay, so let's start, like I said, from a muscle standpoint. Let's say I'm trying to grow my biceps and I'm going to add in a lot of bicep curls and different bicep variations throughout my week. What most of the research says out there, and I'm kind of paraphrasing some things from Renaissance Periodization, Mike Israetel, some of those guys do some really good work in these topics, but I'm going to paraphrase a little bit of that. Essentially, what they say is, probably splitting it up into hitting that muscle group at least twice a week would be beneficial. Okay, the old way of thinking was I had to hit it once a week. Probably hitting it at least twice a week is good. Okay, and probably anywhere from 4 to 5 sets to 8 to 10 sets per day throughout the week is probably a good place to start for kind of an intermediate, maybe to a little bit more advanced trainee. The truth is, in the beginning, if you're a total beginner, hitting it twice a week at 4 or 5 sets per day of exercise is probably going to be pretty good. And you can progress a lot of those factors within that volume. You can bump up the intensity. Obviously, you can add another exercise and add a little bit of volume to that. You can play with periodization models and stuff like that. The truth is, in the beginning, seeing objective increases in volume, intensity, even like soreness. You're like, hey, I did this and I didn't feel too bad afterward. I'm kind of adapting to this now. Those are all good signs that you're heading in the right direction in terms of volume. And I always tell people the goal is always to, I should say, depending on your goals. My goal as a trainer is to always increase the amount of volume that you can handle. All right. If we can get you to handle more volume and adapt to more volume, it's less likely, in my opinion, that you are going to hurt yourself doing like an everyday activity. Okay. So if you have to lift a couch up and help your buddy move, and you're used to deadlifting once a week, heavier than that, and handling awkward loads and doing carries and stuff like that, it's very unlikely you're going to get hurt from that activity, provided things are done in a safe manner. But if we go back to that muscle-specific kind of example, that 8, maybe 10, maybe 12 sets a week, okay, all the way up to even 16 to 20 on the higher end for like an advanced trainee, would be sufficient to grow that muscle. And it should be noted too that obviously we're taking into consideration that the form of these exercises is such that places enough mechanical tension on that muscle for those sets. So this isn't just like, oh, I can do a nice easy set here. I'm not even sweating. I'm not working hard. Okay, I'll put them down. These should be sets that are taken pretty darn close to failure. Within that 1 to 3 reps in reserve is usually a nice place to be. And that can be at 15 reps, that can be at 6 to 8 reps, that can be at 12 reps, that can be at 20 reps. It's shown that a lot of hypertrophy, it happens at all those different rep ranges. Obviously, the load used at those different rep ranges will elicit different strength adaptations or endurance adaptations. But it's important to know that you can get good hypertrophy effects and overall, health promoting effects from all those different rep ranges and generally kind of increasing your volume. And I'm sticking to mostly lifting here. We could go down the rabbit hole of how much volume do I need to run to get better at running, and maybe we'll make a separate video on that. But I think it's important to understand that when it comes to volume in your training program, we should always be aiming to kind of stepwise add a little bit of volume over time, okay? In general, all right, if hypertrophy is the goal. Let's say strength is the goal, we need to add a little bit more volume in strength rep ranges, or add work being done that specifically targets strength as an adaptation instead of hypertrophy. So maybe if you're thinking you're about to do a strength program, you're going to add more volume of strength work over time, okay? And maybe your total volume, maybe your total reps comes down, but maybe that load is a little bit heavier, okay? So you're doing more strength work and maybe a little bit of less pump or hypertrophy work in that program, which would follow kind of a standard linear periodization where we start off at, high volume, low intensity, and then we kind of undulate those to say, I'm going to finish with low volume and high intensity, and that'd be more of a strength program, okay? But again, generally zooming out a little bit, volume is a pretty darn good indicator of, one, fitness, work capacity. It's also a pretty good indicator, or it gives you a good clue on, am I doing enough work to elicit a beneficial adaptation? And that requires a lot of context of what you've been doing before, what you're planning to do after. Like I said, if you're a beginner, it only takes a little bit of an increase in workload, in volume, to elicit an adaptation. If you've been training for 20 years and doing 15 sets of biceps that whole time, doing 15, 16 sets is probably, right within your window there, and you're probably gonna have to add more volume, maybe more exposures throughout the week, maybe increase your frequency, maybe increase your load to a more significant degree to see that change because you have that training history behind you, okay? So again, there's a lot of different avenues we can kind of spin this from and talk about, but I just wanna sort of nail home the point that volume is definitely an important thing to track. It's one of the main things we track with our clients. Making sure they're doing enough useful volume for each body part and getting a good workout in for the day. And then hopefully over time we're going to slowly increase that, like I said, by kind of playing with our dials of frequency, intensity, obviously volume, reps, and things like that. And then that's how we kind of can objectively track performance. Okay. If you guys have questions about this or want help sort of setting up a program, feel free to reach out to us, send us a DM, give us a call, email us, whatever your preferred form of communication is. And we'd be happy to help you out with this. We do this with a lot of our clients just to kind of get them on the right track in terms of setting up a program, and volume is one of those big considerations that we talk about. Okay. Thanks guys. We'll see you in the next one.